Hey guys, Emerson Sturgeon here with the HobbyTown HobbyPlex, and as you can see, we had a little problem with the Super Slash. The actual whole axle came out, not just the wheel, the whole axle. So we have about 3 laps left to go. Still in third. That's the order right there. And yeah, the computer was about right with the times when we were gonna end. So, yeah, it's just a little update. Coming up on the last lap here.
On the left side of the track, down straightaway. There is your winner.
Woo!
Your winner, it's been a while.
Did it die right there?
7 hours, 40
Wow. Dang. There we go. That's it. 7 hours and 15 minutes here.
Hey guys, Alex Sturgeon, HobbyTown, HobbyPlex. We're here in a new place. We're here in my my workroom, and it is post HobbyPlex 1000 Enduro. We're going to talk about how the Super Slash 1000 did. It was good enough for 3rd place, thanks to the driving of my teammates. We did run into a couple issues very early on that kind of threw us back, and we weren't really able to ever recover. We're just going to talk about some of the things that happened. First, we had to change out the shock tower to an RPM shock tower instead of the STRC aluminum one. Essentially what happened was the STRC shock tower is a 2-piece deal, and the 2 screws that come up from underneath of it, even though I used thread lock, what I think happened was they loosened up, and that caused the shock tower to roll back and forth, and then eventually they just sheared off those screws. I think if I was going to do that again, I would still want to use the aluminum STRC shock tower, but I think from now on I'm actually going to tell my customers and stuff at the Plex that when you put those screws through, you should change them out to longer ones and put a nut on the other side and really tighten that down just to keep that thing from getting loose and wiggling back and forth. Then I think it'd be durable. I think it would have lasted the whole thing, the whole way. I think if I were to do it again, if we're going to use the Super Slash next year, I think, which is what we're kind of planning on doing, we'll rebuild it, and we'll definitely do that. We had a couple little glitchy issues. Our on-off switch kept shutting off on hard hits, and I don't know if that's just because the speed controller is quite old. It's about 5 years old now. But that was a weird thing. And then we had our batteries actually come unplugged early a few times. We're using quite a few adapters because we had the Spectrum batteries with the EC5 connectors. We were using EC5 to Dean's. We had EC3 to Dean's, and then we had Dean's batteries. So I think going forward, I'll probably just try to use batteries with Dean's plugs just to make it easy. Switch everything over and get rid of that. That being said, I will say that these Smart Technology Spectrum 5000 batteries, we had a couple of them. They were definitely the longest lasting batteries we had. I think we were getting close to 25 minutes with those packs. Everything else we were hitting between 15 and 20 minutes. So those batteries definitely held up very well. One thing I noticed was a little bit of loss of traction. I mean, the dirt webs held up nicely. In fact, I mean, this is after almost 8 hours of driving. But I think what was going on was you can see the rear end has a little bit of wiggle to it. And I'm pretty sure as we take this apart, we're going to find that the bearings might be either blown out or really, really bad crunchy. And so that would definitely make for a little bit of loss of traction. I'm really, really happy because at the last minute, I decided to modify the Proline transmission slipper plates, make them smaller so that I could use Team Associated spur gears. The main reason for that was because we were unable to get any Proline spur gears in time. So if I ripped up a spur gear, I wouldn't have had a Proline one lying around. So I made it sure to change it to use Team Associated spur gears. And lo and behold, we didn't even need an extra spur gear because it lasted. It went the distance. It held up. We didn't really have any problems with the motor moving around. We did lose our fan early on. The thread lock didn't hold up, and the screw came out. And then by that time, we were just like, well, let's just go with it. Turned out we really didn't need it. The motor wasn't getting that hot anyways, especially as we were trying to conserve battery. And then finally, the last 15 laps of the race, our front inside bearing on the left blew out. And what happened was, when it blew out, you can see the remainder of that bearing right there. It took the wheel with it. So we were driving around about the last 15 laps with just 3 wheels. And then also on the front right, you can see all that play. And what happened was, at one point, this screw had started to back out, and it wobbled out the aluminum. And so we put it back in there, and because we were just like, well, let's just put it in there and see what happens. But we put it back in there, and it lasted and went the distance. But as there's a big right-hand sweeper on the track, it just kept on wearing that more and more. And so the car got a little hard to drive towards the end, even before we lost our other wheel, mainly because of this right here. But the thread lock did hold up, and we were able to make it the distance. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied and pretty happy with how this went. The rest of the car held up nicely. There's really not much slop and play everywhere. And yeah, I would say it was a success. We didn't win, but there was some better drivers definitely in the top 2 teams above us. And they were running a little bit faster cars, and they were a little bit more organized with their pit stops and stuff too. So thanks to Nick and Mitchell Pavel for being my teammates, and of course my son Emerson for doing a majority of the heavy lifting today in the driving side of things. I think I drove 4 battery packs. I think he drove probably
8.
I think 8 or 9 packs. So he did a majority of the driving, and I can't wait for next year. I think we found the right length for an off-road enduro that I like to do. Before, we were doing 11 hours. That was really long. I didn't want to make it too short. I think doing it by laps makes it very interesting, and depending on the length of the lap, it could be an 8-hour race, or it could be a 7-hour race, or even a 6.5-hour race. So that's it. That's all I got here from the dungeon, and thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope you enjoyed the videos I made throughout the day. Look to us to get back to normal next week with a What's New Wednesday, and we'll be starting a new segment in December, ProTech Product Spotlight, thanks to ProTech RC. So we'll look forward to that. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, tell your friends, and we'll make another video for you soon.